Yo, what's up? I'm Jay Gott with a tutorial or DIY how to change your rack and pinion on your IS300, also known as your steering rack. First thing you need is gloves, obviously. I got regular mechanic gloves, rubber gloves. You need a ball joint separator, sledgehammer, a flare nut wrench, 17mm, a torque wrench, big and small, a breaker bar maybe, a tuning fork, that's what I call it, a magnet, dish, a marker, measuring tape, various sizes of hoses, tools like sockets and whatnot. I just got a tool chest or toolbox. You need a big and a small wrench. You may need that later on, you'll see. And then you need a brake cleaner, PB blaster, along with tie rods. I went ahead and replaced my outer tie rods because once you put that ball joint separator on the stock ones, once you put it there, you realize some grease gets pushed out through the boot. So I figured, what the hell, might as well replace them. And this particular brand I got at Napa, I believe they are the same supplier that supplies the Toyota with the IS300 because they're made in Japan. Also, you need a bottle, an empty bottle of water, or empty bottle, like a 16-ounce bottle to put the dirty fluid through. First things first, jack the car up. Yes, I did use different jack points. You'll notice in later in this video, but jack the car up. After that, you want to put tire chucks behind the rear tires to prevent the car from rolling back. Yeah, I put the e-brake on and it's in park, but rather be safe than sorry, right? This is the tie rod on the passenger side. This right here is the mount that holds it to the subframe. And on the driver's side, you have the pretty much the same thing, but as you can see, it's tore up on the driver's side. That's why I ended up changing it. Dealership said it looked bad, the bearings were bad on that side. It cost me $600 to do that one side or $1,500 to do the whole thing. So I was like, hey, I'd do it my damn self. I ain't gonna pay them. Nah. First thing you want to do, as you can see, I did move my jack points, my jack stands in a different area. The front tires you want to take off and put that behind, or actually you want to put those in front of the rear tires. Just in case something happens, at least the car has something to kind of fall on. And I left the jack stand there, and I left the, I'm sorry, I used the floor jack. I left that in place just in case. Like I said, we're safe than sorry. First thing first, remove the dust cover that's actually underneath the rack and pinion. It was only held on by, I think, like 5 screws. They're all 10mm heads. You want to pull all that off. Therefore, you can actually, have a better line of sight of the steering rack itself. Also, I don't have in the video, I did take off the left hand and right hand calipers. I don't have that in the video. I'm letting you guys know that right now. Also, the subframe brace, I didn't remove it. You can remove it, but I left it on. Just the sake of, I don't want to take it off. I guess I was being lazy, so I left it on there. But like I said, there's the mount on the passenger side. Yeah, so I undid the bolt on the mount itself just to get it loose, for no, just to have it ready. Therefore, I'm not coming back for it to do the whole thing all over again. Also, at this point, I went ahead and took the calipers off on both left hand and right hand. Then used a ball joint separator to separate the tie rod from the actual hub itself. You have to take the caliper off to get to that. So that's one thing you need to know. At this point right here, I already took off the bolt and the flare nut that's on the rack itself to drain it. That's why I got the plastic bags holding it. So right here, you'll use a 17mm nut and you use the flare wrench 17mm to take off the power steering line on top. Use those, please. Do not use a wrench on the flare nut because you'll strip it. You don't want that happening. So also, there is a washer on the front side and the back side. I guess that's the high pressure line. You want to reuse those. That's the back side. Actually, where that 17mm bolts at, there's a washer on the high pressure side. So there's one there in the front and the back. Reuse them unless you have new ones. So that being said, I plugged up the holes, and at this point, the only thing left was me just pretty much taking the steering yoke out. So I already got the bolts out, but this is where the PB blaster comes in. You want to soak that with PB blaster on that bolt and that area of the yoke. Once I get the camera straight, that area of the yoke, because there's going to be rust in there because the grease just deteriorated just through time. So you want the PB blaster soak in there for a little while. Take the bolt there, and there's one above that's behind the plastic bag. Once you get those out, and I use the tuning fork and a sledgehammer to actually break it free. It's pretty much on there pretty good, so just be prepared to try to or at least get it free. Just be careful, obviously, but you got to get it out. I mean, mine did not want to budge, so that's why I had to resort to using those two things. Just be careful, like I said, and reuse that rubber boot that's right there on the steering rack. You want to use that on the new one, unless yours came with one. Last but not least is two 17mm bolts that you need to remove to get the other driver's side part of the mount off the subframe itself. And now with all that out and the yoke out, you're able to actually pull the steering rack itself through. I chose the driver's side. If the subframe, if I took that off, then I was able just to drop it straight down underneath the vehicle, but I just went ahead and pulled it out on the driver's side. And at this point, I'm going to move the camera and show you just the condition of the steering rack itself. So here's the passenger side. Looks okay, right? But as you know, that just the driver's side is not really the same case. Like, it's tore up, man. I mean, look at that. The dealership said, like I said, that the bearings were bad, and they're just gonna charge me like $650, I think, just to replace the driver's side. I'm like, why don't you do the whole damn thing? I don't know. Just trying to rip you off, right? So one thing you can do, I recommend, is measure from the base to the end of the tie rod where the nut's at, or you can just count the threads on the outer tie rod going to the inner tie rod. You can count those and try to match it up as close as you can. It helps a little bit. And at this point, like I said, since you have the steering yoke out, you might as well just take it outside, clean it up, put like a wire brush through it, and grease it up. Please grease it up, you know, because you don't want it rusting again. And grease up the steering rack, the part that comes out from the IP itself. Put grease on that, on the teeth. That's it. And also put grease on this guy right here. It's not gonna hurt having the grease on this stuff because the grooves are gonna hold it together. And here's the old steering rack. See how flimsy it is and whatnot. But the install method is pretty much the exact same, the opposite of the disassembly. So it's not that hard to put it all back together. So here's some of the torque specs that I found online. I think they pertain to another Lexus vehicle, but the steering rack notes and the torque specs, they're all the same. I mean, we could have lucked out on this one. I think it's from the SC model. You know, the two-door convertible, the hardtop convertible they had. I believe this is all the same thing. But anyways, follow these torque specs at least when you put things together. If you don't have a torque wrench, that's fine. Just be careful around aluminum parts because you can blow out the joints on them. So that being said, I hope this video helped. I will put some links down to where I got the information at, and you can follow those or follow both the video and the links. I don't know, it's here to help. One of the links I'm going to put down there is to show you how to do a power steering refill. The link is showing how you do a reflush, but it's the same method. I don't have a video clip showing how I did it, but follow the steps there. It's very informative. It's what you want to do because the steering rack is full of air at this point. So just follow what it shows there. That's why I mentioned having various sizes of hoses, an empty bottle, and also I forgot to put in the video and parts needed. You're gonna need some power steering fluid, preferably probably 2 to 3 quarts of it, because you want to kind of clean out the power steering pump itself at the same time. But as I said, once you get all that done, it's all buttoned back together, torque to spec, got new fluid in there, tires are back on the ground. Once you do all that, take it straight to an alignment shop. Make an appointment ahead of time or the next day, whichever. You'll get it in the shop because the alignment is thrown off. I mean, as you see in this video clip, my tires are somewhat straight, but the steering wheel is not straight. And when I had the steering wheel straight, the tires aren't straight. So everything's just thrown all out of whack, you know. So like I said, you change the steering rack, so that's going to happen. Now, if I want to rate the job from a scale of 1 to 10, I say it's about a 4 or 5. I don't think it's hard, especially if you have knowledge with working on a vehicle. I think it's even easier than that. I've done engine swaps in my previous car. That's not in the video, but I have some skill when it comes to this mechanical stuff, so it's not hard to do. I don't think it is. As I say, it's like a 4 or 5 or 4.5. It's real straightforward. Like I said, anybody can do it as long as you have the confidence of the tools. I think you'd be all right. I did this by myself. You have somebody to give me a second, give me a hand. It might help you. It might speed up the job. It took me recording this and doing the job about 4.5 hours because I had to record, right? If I didn't record, I think I could knock it out maybe in 2.5 hours. So I'll use that as a ballpark time frame and skill level. Like I said, any questions, comments, suggestions, whatever, pin in the comment section or hit me up on Twitter. You can hit me up there, and I'm willing to help and listen to everybody. So thanks for watching. I hope that saved you guys money, and thanks again.